everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and today I have a very exciting video. So if you watched my last weekend reading vlog where I participated in Becca's Bookopoly-thon, which was a 48-hour readathon that she created themed after her TBR game, Bookopoly, you'll know that I decided to come up with my own TBR game. So I really love watching TBR game videos. I think they're so creative. I've been wanting to, I don't know, come up with one for ages. I love games, I play a lot of games, and I also wanted a way to kind of help me bring my physical TBR to a smaller number. I've tried like a TBR jar in the past. I've tried, you know, with like the Pop Sugar Challenge, tried picking out prompts every month, but I wanted a little bit more control while still having like a fun element to it that was like a little bit more exciting. And I came up with a vague idea of a potential TBR game, and then Adam and I sat down last weekend during the readathon and he helped me kind of iron out all the details and come up with what I'm now calling the A to Z of TBR. This is sort of inspired by the game's categories, which has a letter die included, and the goal of the game is to roll a die and then there's a bunch of prompts that you have to come up with answers for that all use the same letter from that roll. So I was like, okay, you could definitely do something like that. And I had like some ideas, and then we came up with what I think is a really fun game, and I'm so excited to play it today. I'll kind of explain the general rules. I have a feeling it's going to be easier to understand as I play it, and I can kind of talk about the different rules as they come up. Basically, like I said, this is a way for me to read books that I have on my TBR, either physically on my Kindle or as an audiobook. If I happen to have any library books out at the time of playing each month, then I can certainly use those as well, but I'm not going to be searching for books to fit different prompts that come up just to like fill it. Does that, you know, I want to read books that I have. Basically, I've decided that I will give myself 5 prompts each month, and these prompts come from either like past Pop Sugar Challenge prompts that I thought were cool, ones that I just kind of came up with, or I used some that were suggested when I asked for ideas for the community chest cards for Becca's Bookopoly-thon. So they're kind of coming from all over the place, and I strategically placed them within certain months. So I didn't want it to be completely random. I didn't want to like choose out of a hat 5 prompts every month and come up with 5 really specific prompts. So instead I made little like boards or whatever for each month for the rest of the year, and I'll just be using that each time I make my TBR. This gave me a little bit more control and also allowed me to put in prompts that were sort of seasonal or that like I enjoy reading at a specific time of year or whatever. And yeah, it just allowed me some control, which I need. So each month I'll have one of those cards, and then I will roll the die. Whatever letter it lands on, I have to choose a book that starts with that letter, discounting A and or the, that fits into one of the prompts. So it doesn't have to be the first prompt, it can be the 5th prompt, it can be the 3rd one. Whatever prompts are open are fair game. I decided to do this too to try to be strategic. So say I rolled A, there's so many books that start with A, an, or any other like word starting with the A. So those will be easier to fit into more challenging prompts. And then that way there is some strategy to it as well. So that's kind of the general gist. However, there are a couple of like extra rules that play into it depending on how your rolls go. So first, say I get down to the very end and I have 1 prompt left, I roll a letter and I can't find anything on my TBR that fits the final prompt. What I'll do in that case is I will use a past letter and fit it into a prompt, the final prompt, erasing that choice and then re-rolling. Does that make sense? I think it'll make sense as it happens, but I'm having a hard time explaining it. I tried to like write it down and I don't think that helped. If I roll a letter twice, then the second time I roll it, rather than picking a book that starts with that letter, I have to choose a book whose author's name, either first, middle, or last, or an initial, starts with that letter. So say I rolled a W, and the first time I chose When the Sky Fell on Splendor by Emily Henry. Then I rolled a W again and chose The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. So does that make sense? If I roll the same letter twice, there is sort of like a change to the rules. Then the final sort of additional rule is if I choose a book that represents the letter I rolled twice, I get a bonus roll. So say I roll an S and I choose The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. At the end of the game, I can re-roll the die and using that letter replace any of the books that I've already chosen. I don't have to do this, but it's an option. So if, for example, I have all really long fantasy books and I'm like, that seems not doable for the month, I can re-roll the die and choose another book that fits one of the prompts to replace one of those long fantasy books with maybe like a short contemporary, or however it works out. Maybe I won't be able to replace anything. Maybe I have a great list at the end of the game and I don't want to replace anything. That's fine. But if I'm strategic, I get a bonus roll, and yeah. Hopefully all of that makes sense. Like I said, I think it will make sense as I play it and certain rules come into play. But this is my list of prompts for August. So every month I have a color related prompt, and it relates to, if you've seen anything I've posted before about my bullet journal, every month I have like a color and I have this spread where I like cross out the days as they go on with a specific color. Yeah, so I just used that color that is in my bullet journal because I thought having a color prompt each month would be fun. And for a lot of them I did seasonal things as well, or just like genres that I really like to read during specific months, whatever. I did try to be strategic in the prompts that I gave myself, and some are easier, some are harder, and I'm really excited. So without further ado, let's roll the first letter. All right, the first letter is B. Okay, so I have 3 options for B. I have Bad Moms by Nora McInerny. This is a contemporary, it's like inspired by the movie Bad Moms, and she wrote it based on that. And then have Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, which is a sort of like self-helpy type book. And I have Becoming by Michelle Obama, which is Michelle Obama's memoir. Very interesting choices. I think I'm gonna go with Bad Moms because I love like contemporary in the summer, and I feel like this one will be fairly like quick to get through. I can use this for the prompt of reading a book from an author that I've already read before. I've read, I didn't finish the entirety of the book. I read most of, and not because I didn't like it, but I read most of It's Okay to Laugh, Crying is Cool Too, which is one of her memoirs about losing her husband and her father and having a miscarriage. And it was very well done, but it was not the time that I wanted to read it. But anyway, I think I'll pick this one for that prompt. I've also heard it's very, very funny, and Nora herself is like one of my favorite people to follow online, and she's really funny, so I have no doubts that this is gonna be a riot. All right, roll number 2. So I rolled an O. All right, so literally the only things I have for O are Orphan Train by Christina Baker Kline. This is a historical fiction novel. And then I also have on my Kindle Once and Future by Amy Rose Capetta and Cori McCarthy. This is like a retelling of Arthurian legends set in space, I believe. And I'm gonna be real, I'm not super feeling either of these books right now. But I think I'm gonna choose Orphan Train for a book that is between 200 and 300 pages. I am interested in this book. I've had this for ages. It's about an older woman who, as a child, was basically shipped off from New York City to the Midwest as an orphan, and it's her story now as an adult. I think she's pretty elderly, and she hires someone to like help her clean out her attic or something, and I assume it's like her sort of telling her story to this young woman who grew up in foster care, so it turns out they have a lot in common. It's set both in Minnesota and Maine, which are like my 2 homes, so I really like that. But I'm a little intimidated by it for whatever reason. Although I do really want to read more historical fiction. I've been saying that for ages. So far, I've got these 2. Okay, roll number 3. I want an easier letter. Okay, I rolled an L. That feels easier. Okay, I either have Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray, which is the large sequel to The Diviners, or I have The Love That Split the World by Emily Henry, or Love, Hate, and Other Filters by Samira Ahmed. Alrighty, Lair of Dreams does not fit any of the 3 prompts that I have left. No orange on the cover, it's not a book from my most recent haul, and I don't think it's a 5-star prediction. So I think I'm gonna go with The Love That Split the World by Emily Henry for a book with orange on the cover. There's like some orange in this like sunset or whatever. I genuinely don't really know what this book is about, but I love Emily Henry and I wanna read her backlist, so we're gonna go with that. Okay, it's a couple hours later and I just found this book, which normally lives on my TBR shelf, but I had brought it with me last weekend when we went to the lake and I forgot to put it back, and I want to put this on my TBR for August. So it's Little Weirds by Jenny Slate. I'm gonna swap this out for The Love That Split the World. Same prompt, there is orange on the cover in a couple different spots. It's not like super orange, but we're gonna roll with it. I'm really excited to read this. I think this is just a bunch of short stories by Jenny Slate, if I remember correctly, but also maybe some personal essays too. Okay, roll number 4. All right, I rolled an F. Okay, so I actually had more books than I anticipated for F. The first I have is The Fire This Time, A New Generation Speaks About Race. This is a collection of essays edited by Jesmyn all about race in the US today. I've got Future Home of the Living God by Louise Erdrich, which is a sort of sci-fi speculative story that I've had on my TBR for ages. I've got Fragments of the Lost by Miranda, which is a YA mystery thriller. And then I have on my Kindle The Farm by Joanne Ramos, which is I think also sort of speculative. I think I'm gonna go with The Fire This Time by Jesmyn, and I want to be intentional about having some nonfiction on my TBRs as much as I can. I'm obviously planning to read more than just these 5 books in a month. I guess it's not obvious, but I do usually read more than 5 books, but yeah, so if I can have this on my TBR, these are kind of my highest priority books, so this will really encourage me to read it. And yeah, I've heard it's very well done. Adam has read most of it. He's this far, so he's only got this much left. And I'll use this for a book from my most recent haul. I did, I believe, buy this at the beginning of June, so most recent haul for me just means like have bought in the last like month or so. I don't really do hauls all that often as videos, but yeah. Okay, so I only have 1 roll left and it's for 5-star prediction, which feels like it's probably a hard one. So we'll see if I have to do some re-rolling and finagling, etc. Okay, so I actually rolled an L, which means that's the second time I've rolled an L, and now I need to pick a book from an author whose name or last name starts with L. Okay, again, I'm kind of surprised, but I have actually 3 books that I think could be 5 stars, and they have authors with L names. So the first one was actually in a 5-star prediction video that I did like 2 years ago, and that is Ash Princess by Sebastian. This is a YA fantasy story about our main character Theodosia, who was 6 when her mother, the queen, was like ousted from their kingdom and murdered, and Theodosia was ostracized from her society and deemed the Ash Princess as a tale of shame. I heard it kind of billed as like Slytherin Sansa Stark, which intrigued me. I've been wanting to read this for so long. Again, it's been a 5-star predicted book since 2018. So, and then I also have Everything All at Once by Katrina Leno, who wrote Summer of Salt, which was one of my top 10 books last year, and I just absolutely loved it. And I feel like, I don't know, I could really love this. I read another book by Katrina Leno that was only like 3 stars, so she could really go either way, but I have a feeling this one I'm gonna really love. And then finally, I have Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, which again is another YA fantasy book that I was supposed to buddy read with my sister in February, and we've been putting it off because we both think we're really gonna love it, but it's just intimidating, and sometimes 5-star predictions are like the most intimidating ones to pick up. I don't know if you feel that, but I feel that because like, what if it doesn't live up to it? And then I'm sad. But okay, I'm really choosing between these 2. Let me text my sister and see how she would feel about reading Strange the Dreamer potentially in August, because we are still planning to buddy read it. My sister said yes, so we're gonna read Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor in August, and it's going in as my 5-star prediction. All right, so here are some of the books that I will be reading in August. These are the books that will be kind of top of my priority list. I'm really, really excited about them. I think this is a good mix of very different books, so it'll be fun to read them all throughout the month. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video. If you do actually want to play, if you are interested, let me know. I can post the like prompts somewhere or whatever. That'd be really cool if other people did it. No pressure. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'm so thrilled to be doing this. I think it's gonna be really fun to do this every month. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let me know if you've read any of these books, how you feel about them, how you think my month's gonna go based on all of these choices. But yeah, I'm really excited. How many times have I said that? Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on my next one. But until then, happy reading. Bye.